I hope I'm wrong, but my gut tells me that we will be fighting in 2025. This is the worrying statement made by U.S. four-star General Mike Minihan in a memo to all commanders of the Air Mobility Command. The statement comes at a time when the conflict between China and Taiwan is intensifying and China is increasingly openly threatening to conquer the neighboring island. Especially since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, more and more experts believe it is likely that China could also unleash a war of aggression. But how likely is a Chinese attack really, and why is the year 2025 so crucial? We look at all these questions in today's video. Have fun! The conflict between China and Taiwan can be traced back to a decades-long dispute between the two governments. The Communists under Mao Zedong won the Chinese Civil War in 1949 and proclaimed the People's Republic of China. The Republicans, who were defeated by the Communists, fled to the offshore island of Taiwan, where they proclaimed the Republic of Taiwan. And so for over 7 decades there have been 2 Chinese states. Over the decades, however, Taiwan has developed more and more into a democracy, whereas the People's Republic has increasingly become a dictatorship. There are therefore 2 opposing political systems, with Taiwan being very strongly supported by the USA. This U.S. outpost on its own doorstep is naturally a thorn in China's side. And the stable democracy in Taiwan, which could serve as an incentive for democracy movements in its own country, is also viewed with great contempt by the government in Beijing. And so the People's Republic of China still regards Taiwan as an integral part of its own country, and one of the top priorities of the leadership is to regain control of the island. And the current government under Xi Jinping is acting more aggressively than ever before. Chinese state and party leader Xi Jinping was recently confirmed as president for a historic 3rd term of office by the Chinese People's Congress. This means that he will be in office for at least another 5 years and should be relatively firmly in the saddle for the time being in terms of domestic policy. In doing so, he is underlining his ongoing leadership role in striving for sole rule along the lines of Mao Zedong. And his most important foreign policy goal is the so-called reunification with Taiwan. He also openly makes it clear that he would not shy away from military means if necessary. But why exactly is the year 2025 so important? The fact that the year 2025 in particular is so decisive is due to 2 events. Firstly, presidential elections will be held in Taiwan in 2024. There is already talk that China will exert great influence on the elections in order to bring a desired candidate to power. However, if this does not happen, they could use this as a pretext for an attack. On the other hand, presidential elections will also be held in the USA at the end of 2024. It is highly unclear who will win these elections, and even a return of Donald Trump is not unlikely. A new president could take a new course on Taiwan, or there could be unrest in U.S. politics and the population. Something similar happened after the last elections, culminating in the storming of the Capitol. This could distract Taiwan's most important protective power, and the Western alliance could also crumble. China could use this window of uncertainty to carry out its invasion. However, there are also many dissenting voices who believe that an attack by China is rather unlikely in the current situation. The West has been more united since the Ukraine war than it has been for a long time, and the USA would probably also defend Taiwan in the event of war. And China has no interest in a third world war either. In addition, there is a lot at stake for the government in Beijing in the event of an invasion, as the existence of the Communist Party and the entire nation could be at stake in the event of a defeat. We are currently seeing a similar situation in Russia. The official statement from the U.S. Department of Defense is also cautious in its response to the general statements and says, "These comments are not representative of the department's views on China," according to a statement. The future is highly uncertain, and it is currently impossible to predict whether this invasion will take place in 2 years' time or whether it will take place at all. Only the Chinese head of state Xi himself knows that. What is certain is that Taiwan is preparing for the worst-case scenario and only recently raised the military service from 4 months to 1 year. This serves as a further measure for the potential war for which the island state has been preparing for decades. The People's Republic is also investing heavily in its own military in order to be able to challenge the superpower USA in the future.